Gravity-based structures are among the biggest and most impressive feats of engineering in the oil and gas industry. 3 of the Brent platforms are supported by reinforced concrete gravity-based structures. They were built in the 1970s to withstand 200-mile-an-hour winds and waves 25 metres high. They've served their purpose effectively, but now their robust design is a challenge to decommission.
Gravity-based structure, or GBS as we call it, is made up of a steel skirt which anchors the structure to the bottom of the seabed. It's made up of some cells for storage and legs.
These gravity-based structures are made of heavily reinforced concrete. Each GBS weighs around 300,000 tonnes.
Shell has investigated completely removing the structures from the sea.
When these GBSs were positioned out offshore in the 1970s, they would have been towed out, filled with ballast to ensure that they were grounded on the seabed.
To refloat the gravity-based structures, this installation would need to be reversed. Cells would need to be emptied, sealed, and filled with air to induce buoyancy. The base would need to be excavated and hydraulics used to prise it from the sea floor. And a method of altering the buoyancy would need to be found for its journey to the surface. Independent studies suggest that successfully refloating the GBS would prove extremely difficult.
Nobody's ever done this before. You can have a scenario pop up where you would lose control of the GBS structure.
Attempting to lift the structures from the seabed could also collapse them.
It is technically extremely high risk of failure and also a very high safety risk, far higher than we would accept in any other part of our operations.
Based on 30 years of data gathered on North Sea operations, that would indicate that we'd have at least 1 fatality per gravity-based structure being refloated. And that is a risk which I am not prepared to entertain.
So having done some deep technical studies and also dialogue with our independent review group, we've come to the conclusion that we won't carry that option forward.
Shell has also considered leaving the GBS in place and adding navigation aids, or cutting the legs 55 metres below sea level in line with International Maritime Organisation guidelines.
To better understand the complexity around cutting concrete we have actually done some trials onshore where we've formed reinforced concrete. And we've also compressed it to try and replicate the conditions that are out there actually on the GBSs.
While they've achieved the cut in a test on land, there's concern it may not work in practice.
As you may appreciate, making a cut without trapping that wire with 6,000 tonnes of dead weight bearing down on that cut surface in a marine environment where you're dealing with the effects of waves, wind, a dynamic situation is certainly extremely challenging.
The cost of this partial removal would be very high, which is something Shell is required to consider.
The UK taxpayer will be funding part of the cost of decommissioning, so it's really important that the operators are looking to carry out the work in the most cost-effective manner.
Brent's profits were taxed in excess of 70%. It paid £20 billion in today's money in taxes. Shell can now claim a 70% reimbursement on the cost of decommissioning from the taxes it previously paid. And while the final costs of decommissioning are not yet known, Brent will remain an overwhelmingly positive contributor to the UK Treasury. Having weighed up all the options, Shell is not recommending the partial removal of the legs.
Our recommendation, based on 10 years of study and independent review and analysis by our independent review group, is to leave the concrete gravity-based structures with the legs up in place.
This would involve capping the legs with concrete and installing navigation aids. The structures would be marked on maritime charts and in FishSafe, the fisherman's GPS warning system.
One of our key contractors came to a conclusion that actually the collision hazard was about 1 in every 10,000 years, so well under any accepted standard.
Experts estimate that the GBS legs will degrade to below sea level in around 250 years. Then their position would be marked with buoys.
The option to leave the gravity-based structure in place really mirrors what's already happened in the Norwegian sector, where the structures have been left in place with navigation aids on there to aid shipping and fishing.
As a general principle, the fishing view is if it's going to be there and going to cause an obstruction, then let's be able to see it. Legs up is the choice of the fisherman.